see you really.
Hey, all right. Welcome back to Raff's Brain, a show about things that are interesting to me. This is an episode of Riffin with Raff. Riffin with Raff.
Wait, is it called Raff's Brain or?
Raff's Brain is the umbrella brand.
Okay, because you have so much production.
I do. I have hot yoga problems, which is one of the streams of content. I love hot yoga. So
you love hot yoga?
Yes, I do it routinely, like probably 3 times a week at least.
Wow.
And then afterwards, on my car
My
ride
girlfriend
home,
does hot yoga, and you guys do not look similar.
I need to get other parts of my life in sync with my yoga routine.
Okay, that makes sense. But at least one part, you have something good. So hot yoga, what else?
Yoga, Riffin with Raff. It's my interview stream.
Yeah,
I talk to people like you. And then walk and talk. It's kind of a stream of consciousness. I walk around my neighborhood and just talk about things on my mind and that sort of stuff. So
and when you say you, who am I? You have to introduce
Rob
me.
Rafferty, the host.
No, me.
Oh, you, yeah.
Yes.
Riffin with Raff. We're joining today with Daniel Francis, the one and only.
Yes.
Former colleague of mine, now founder and tech entrepreneur, whiz kid. I don't know how to describe you. We keep in touch over the years, and I've just seen your trajectory.
I would, if I could take a shot.
Yes.
At describing me.
All right.
I would say once in a generation, technological talent.
Once in a generation.
Yes.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Which generation are you?
Absolutely.
You're Gen Z, right?
No, I'm a millennial. I know I look young. That's
Yeah.
part of my generational charm.
Okay.
Like my once in a generation charm is the fact that I just don't age, it seems like other people.
Yes.
But no, I was born.
Is it the blood of the interns that you're
Yes, exactly.
if you start doing
We're going to edit that part out, all right? No interns are harmed, all right?
Okay, so this is cool. We met and you were probably in your early 20s.
Yeah.
And
24.
I like to take credit for your life.
I give it to you. But when I met you, I was nothing.
Don't say that.
No, I was.
You were an impressive
nothing.
young man. You were
I was a nonprofit employee. My life was so hard. I had more roommates than IQ points. It was difficult. Okay.
Yes.
And then I was working at Mercatus Center.
Yes.
I was working for Angela Cuck, and she was making me write policy summaries.
Yes.
And in my life, I believe maybe 10 people read my policy summaries. But it was a fine job. I wanted to be near a girl, so I came up here and I did this. Then one day, the weird guy from across the hall said, "Hey man, you talk to me about coding or something. This is what Rafferty does. This is Rafferty's survival modus operandi, is to make a bunch of people owe him by just doing weird, like just anything he sees, connecting it.
Yes.
Everything that he sees. So he saw something. There was a Python for social scientist class workshop. It's like a 10-week workshop that some PhD student at Mercatus at George Mason, which Mercatus is part of, he was putting on, and Python for social science. I'm like, cool. Like, I've coded before. And Rafferty was like, you should do this. And so I was like, okay.
Do you remember who that was? Who was running? Just some guy, some grad student?
Some grad student.
Maybe
if I look back at my emails, I could find it because
This was the catalyst to you getting really excited about coding and such. Is that right? You already were coding, but for some...
I just done scientific computing at Florida State. I was a math major, so they made us take some kind of programming thing. But it was like Fortran, right? Yeah. But I think I told you about it one day. I was like, oh, it was interesting. And you were like, then you saw this. And the way Rafferty works is everything that goes into his brain, he's like, how can I connect this to another node in my life? And he's a connector. And so he made me do this. Well, he told me about it. I went and did it. And then immediately I got picked up by the analytics team at Mercatus that was doing reg data.
Patrick McLaughlin.
Because they were trying to teach interns to teach code Python.
And that's not easy. Most interns have no capacity for that.
They have no capacity for rational thought, period. They're completely helpless. Helpless. Yes. Just terrible. And so I was like, oh, I can code Python. They're like, oh, get in here. Like, why are you doing comms? Like, get in here. And so I did that for a year and a half, I think.
And you helped get reg data going. And now Patrick, that we just learned, is moving to Stanford Hoover Institute.
Awesome.
So you guys have to connect there at some point.
So
it all comes full
I ended
circle.
up getting pulled out to San Francisco as a programmer.
Yeah.
And I could go see Patrick again.
One thing I try to do is keep in touch with people. And I just think there's always value in that. Even if it's years, like, I don't have to talk to somebody for years, but I can still like have a general sense of what they're up to, where they're at. Social media helps with that, of course. But at some point you went to San Francisco. I don't know when. How long have you been there?
2018.
No, the best thing about you, we were on, so there's a couple other things. We have little friends, we have a text thread that we kind of just keep, that has kept us going for years.
The most powerful group chat in the world.
And you're famous for really what I think is this most extraordinary kind of punked situation when Elon Musk bought Twitter.
Yes.
You saw some like journalists camping out outside the headquarters, and there was all this rumors about them going to fire a bunch of people. And you and your roommate, is that right? Was he a roommate or just a buddy?
Just a buddy of mine. He was in my other group chat, which is actually the most powerful group chat in the world. And
I'm not in that one. So
yeah. We talked about letting you in. We decided no.
I understand.
But no, he was. He works out in the gym in the Twitter building.
That's Ligma, right?
Yeah, that's Ligma. That's okay. Raul Ligma. And I was Daniel Johnson. And basically, it's like all these journalists are out here and they look like unbelievably horny. Like they think they think it's gonna be like Lehman Brothers. And so like I brought boxes down and we walked out and we pretended that we got laid off.
Yeah, and they bought it, hook, line, and sinker.
We gave like 10-minute interviews.
Yes, they were extraordinary interviews. I don't know how you kept a straight face. I'm going to drop a link to this in the show notes. It's likely you've seen these before, you've heard of it. It went viral, and it was a really great example of how media just jumps and kind of like, tries to paint.
They were there to write a certain story,
right?
And we walked out.
You gave it to them.
We gave it to them,
hilarious.
And then they had to Deidre Bosa had to go on CNBC and apologize on air and all this stuff. It was the best day of my life.
So I was very thrilled to see that. I was like, wow, this guy's clever, and I didn't know what you were doing at that point in time. And then somehow you hooked up with, and you started working at Twitter for a little bit, or X, that is, for a little bit.
It was Twitter back then.
Okay. And then we kept in touch. But now, what was most exciting is you sent us TechCrunch story. I'll drop a link to this as well. You've got into some really intense startup mode, like criminal justice work to help frontline police officers focus on their jobs more than writing reports using all these sort of tech tools. Tell us about that real quick from a layman's perspective, which is me and my tens of listeners are pretty much.
These are some of the most elite listeners in the world. You are an elite listener, all right? You matter. But I'll just say, so yeah, I got into this because a friend of mine went through domestic violence, and as a victim, not the perpetrator, and she got a restraining order and got a place in Oakland, and her husband figured out where she was living and came around banging on the door, yelling threats, and it took 45 minutes for the Oakland Police Department to show up.
Jeez.
And this is not out in the boonies. This is in Oakland, California, where the Oakland Police Department has jurisdiction. And I was pretty stunned by that. I come from a red state, red county.
Sure.
The police are kind of kings out there, right? And it's whenever I was a kid, if the police were needed, they were Johnny on the spot. They were there immediately.
Right.
And moving out to the West Coast and seeing what it was like was pretty shocking. So I started talking to officers, and I started reading about policing a lot. And I started poring over PDFs. And what I found out was that there's a huge shortage of police ever since 2020. And there is a huge paperwork burden in police lives. That is not new, the paperwork burden. So the 2021 staffing analysis for the SFPD is the PDF that I found that really changed my life. And it's 120 pages about staffing.
Wow.
And so I can't remember what page it was, but I remember reading the patrol officers spend approximately a third of their time doing paperwork, in parentheses, mostly police reports. And I was like, holy shit, man, this changed my life.
Yes.
This is incredible.
That's messed up. We don't want that. We want people out there doing their jobs. There's always going to be some degree of, you want to have records, you want to keep logs,
of course,
and stuff.
But they're not even good at it.
Yeah.
That's the worst part, is that the police are not even good at it because they're patrol officers.
Right,
they didn't sign up for this, right?
Okay, so this is just spark. This lights your idea. And then, of course, we have this convergence, this emerging technology and text, I don't even know, LLM technology.
Yeah, and it was kind of mid when I started, but my estimation was that it was going to get better and the puck was going to meet me where I was going.
Wayne Gretzky there.
Yeah.
That's right.
Just so you guys know.
Yes.
But it looked like a maybe, but I decided, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Exactly.
And so I went for it. But yeah, I figured it was going to get better. It was going to get to the point where a lot of this should be automated, and the police officer's job should really be review we give them a very kind of dry, rundown of events as they occurred. We take I guess I should back up for a second.
Go ahead.
We take the body cam footage. This is how we do it. We take their body cam footage. It gets uploaded to the cloud. We take it down. We run our models on it. We generate a report. We usually mix it with some, usually dispatch data, stuff that's available. And we're able to generate a report that I would consider to be a 95th percentile police report.
Wow.
Like a really high quality police report. And it reflects all the events that occurred, and it's the officer's job is to review it, add things that we can't detect. I smelled marijuana, I know this guy before, and this happened, he was acting suspicious.
But it knocks out a lot of the just basic work. And
Yeah.
then they can add the color commentary
Exactly.
or whatever.
Ultimately, I don't want officers to have notepads. I don't want them to make notes on their phone. That's them recording just the boring details of this event.
Right.
The information about the reporting party or the victim, all that, we should be able to crypt for them, and they should be able to actually look at someone in the eye and talk about what happened.
Yeah.
Right? And decide what to do next.
So this is amazing technology. You're just getting online, I guess, and you have, what was it called? There was those of you who are really deep into the venture capital world, you were in a fellowship program. You were one of those, what's that organization?
Oh, it's Y Combinator.
Y Combinator. That's a big
startup
deal.
accelerator.
Yes.
Yes.
Big deal. Getting into that must have been like a freaking amazing experience.
I know, it was
Do
easy.
they come to you, or how does that even work? Do you apply, or is it a little bit of both?
Usually you apply, but I know the president of Y Combinator.
Oh, there you
I'm
go.
friends with him. And so, oh, there we go, Dan.
Golly.
That's one way to do it, I guess. But no, he helped convince me to start the company.
That's great.
So I was at his house, and I was talking to him. I was kind of in the idea maze, sort of, thinking about different things, and I told him about this, and he grabbed me by the shoulder. He's like, dude, you have to start this. You have to apply for Y Combinator. I'll be your partner.
Right.
And you got to build this. So this kind of half
when
of
was
what
that?
convinced
About
me.
a year ago, year and a half ago, or something, 2 years ago.
No, not even. This company started in March last year.
This has really been
It's February this
what
year,
a
so it
whirlwind.
hasn't even been a year.
I mean, and I would say, let me just, as we're wrapping up here, you kind of, I don't know, man, you might be self-actualizing. You're kind of in your zone, your element. I've never seen you this animated. We had lunch today. We've been chatting a little bit here.
Usually I seem like kind of a tree sloth and kind of, drooling a
I
little.
just feel like you're, I don't know, man, you seem very, very good at what you're doing and very fulfilled and excited about it, which is encouraging.
I'm having fun.
I like that.
Yeah, it's good. Right now, I think I'm where I should be, which I spent years looking for that.
Yeah, it takes time, I'm sure.
And
I'm kind of looking at
I see it in your eyes.
Thank you.
I was once like you, brother.
Help me.
Help me, please. But no, and it's kind of funny because it was a process of getting closer and closer.
Yeah.
And it's each time it felt better, right? When I moved up to DC and worked for Mercatus, right? I was oh, this is closer to where I should be, right? I moved over to programming for them, right? I was this feels closer, right? And then I started working for private companies, this feels closer. And so each step was closer.
Cool.
It's just iterative improvements. But right now, I'm happier than I've ever been.
This is exciting. Folks, check it out. It's called Abel, right?
Like Cain and Abel, ABEL, police.com.
AbelPolice.com. I will put that in the show notes as well. Thank you, Dan Francis, for joining me today and just sharing some top-line thoughts about your story here. And the best is yet to come, my friend.
Yeah.
We'll check in again.
Let's do it again in a year, and I'll be I went under, and all my investors are suing me.
Good luck. Thanks,
man.
Sure.